Hello everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today, me and Toby are going to be doing our ultimate North versus South Premier League 11. I'm going to be representing the North and Toby's going to be representing the South, and we can only pick one player from each Premier League club. Toby, how did you find it, mate?
Yeah, it was another really sort of fun podcast idea. I love sort of building these, whether it's team of the season or all-time 11, and yeah, for this North versus South. So I've taken the South as an Arsenal fan, and obviously a lot of Premier League clubs in London has meant we've had to do a bit of a controversial North-South divide, a classical Southerners North-South divide, I would say, where Birmingham and Ipswich are in the North for this video. So I'm basically London and the South Coast. But yeah, really good fun to do. And it was a few picks I think were straight in my team, and a few had to have a little bit of a think and a little bit of a shuffle around. But how did you find it up in the North?
Yeah, I found it, okay. I mean, it was pretty much Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester, and then the Midlands, plus Ipswich Town, who are very much, in my opinion, a southern side, but just had to make the North divide just because there were that many southern Premier League sides. And so I did find it okay. There were a couple of weaker sides down the bottom of the table I was struggling to find a representative for, but in the end, I shuffled things around and I got a pretty good 10, but then also an 11th player from a second Premier League club, just because we need an 11 plus a manager as well. And I think I'm going to absolutely trounce you, but it's up to the comments below to let us know who got the better team, who's going to win North versus South. And Toby, do you want to start us off with your goalkeeper? Who have you gone for?
Yeah, it was quite an easy pick, this one for me, I think. I have gone for Southampton's Aaron Ramsdale. I think this was a combination of Southampton maybe not having the strongest picks elsewhere on the pitch relative to other teams. And specifically with Ramsdale, I think he is a player playing for a team lower in the table who could certainly play for a team slightly higher in the table. So sort of an overachiever, I would guess, for Southampton. Not that he's particularly performed incredibly well since being at Southampton. He's been pretty decent, but I think obviously we saw at his time as Arsenal that he could be a keeper for a top side, and it was a really strong acquisition for Southampton to get. So yeah, I've gone for Ramsdale. Really good shot stopper, really good with his feet as well, and yeah, was probably one of the first names on the team sheet for me. Getting that Southampton pick in nice and early.
I'll be honest, mate. I was 99% confident that you were going to go for Aaron Ramsdale. When I had a little bit of extra time, and I was thinking, who on earth is Toby going to pick on his side? Maybe I can try and match up my players to maybe beat yours. And I looked at Southampton and thought, yeah, it's got to be Aaron Ramsdale, hasn't it? So don't blame me for that one. I will say though, I did have some decent options for goalkeeper. I don't know if you looked at mine, but when I thought about it, I had Jordan Pickford, Alisson Becker, Edison, Andre Onana, Emi Martinez, and Nick Pope, and as the options, six goalkeepers who I thought could all do a really decent job in goal for me. And in the end, I went for Jordan Pickford, mainly because I looked at the rest of his teammates, no offense to Everton fans, and I thought maybe I could go for Dwight McNeil, maybe Brandwaite or Tarkovsky, but ultimately I decided that, I wasn't going to go for McNeil because I had, I was quite lucky with the amount of attacking options that I had. Wasn't going to go for McNeil. Could have gone for Brandwaite or Tarkovsky. It was close, but you realize later on why I haven't. And so I decided that I had to go for Jordan Pickford, someone who 10 Premier League seasons as a Premier League goalkeeper, 79 clean sheets. I think, he's very underrated. England's number one. And one crazy stat, which I did see, was if this is going to be a North v South one-off game and it ends up going to a penalty shootout, I saw that Jordan Pickford has saved a penalty in every single shootout he's been in with England. And I thought if there's going to go to a penalty shootout, I had to add Jordan Pickford in goal.
Yeah, good pick. Nice solid option in Pickford, and a reliable pick, I think, is a good shout for him. Certainly being a consistent performer over the years. And two English goalies to start us off, quite different styles. Pickford, probably a more safer shot stopper, maybe a bit more confident, but Ramsdale, I would say, certainly better with his feet. So could be a teaser into the way we want to play, or I guess we'll see how that back line builds. Who have you gone for to start off your defence at right back?
So This is where I mentioned the fact that I juggle things around a little bit. I have not gone for a back four. I have gone for,
Ooh.
yeah, no, call me Ruben Amorim. I've gone for a 3-4-2-1. Just because of
That's just a five back. He's parking the bus. He's scared. He's scared.
not when you see the players I have at wing back, mate. Just because when I was looking at some of the sides lower down in the table, I was like, oh, how on earth am I going to get this player in? How am I going to get this player in? Because some of the sides lower down the table, their best players aren't defenders. So, and when you think about the teams that I do have, the likes of Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Newcastle, I did think I have some really good attacking players as well, which I wanted to get in. So I had to go for more like teams lower down the table in terms of defense, but not their better players. And so I have fudged it a little bit, but I think I found a perfect balance as well. So I'm going to start off with at right centre back is where I'm going to start. And I've gone for Aston Villa's Ezri Konsa because of the fact that he can not only play right centre back in a back four, he can also play right back in a back four, and he's going to be doing a lot of defending out in that right back position because my right wing back is extremely attacking. And on Ezri Konsa, I think that he's a very underrated player, always goes about his job very well, does it very quietly, and I've got no issues as just a very solid pick at right centre back for me. And yeah, why don't you talk about your right back in, I'm assuming, your conventional back four?
Yeah, that's three Englishmen so far, and I have gone for a fourth at right back. I have gone for West Ham's Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think he's had a really good start to this season in his West Ham career. I think the purchase was really underrated and a really, really good one from West Ham. I think he was always pretty decent at United, maybe not at sort of the heights that they were hoping to get, and I think West Ham really identified that and were able to pick him up for a good price. And he's just a really solid player. I think obviously we know how good he is defensively, we know how good he is at slide tackles especially, but I do still think that his offensive game is actually still a bit underrated. He might not be like an exceptional crosser or an exceptional final pass maker, but I think the way that he carries the ball up is really, really good. I still think he's a great dribbler, and he was a winger in his academy days, and I do still think you can see that at times. He does always look pretty decent on the ball when he's sort of driving it forward. So yeah, I could have had a couple options from West Ham, maybe a little bit further up the pitch, but saving those positions maybe for some stronger talents.
Yeah, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a really good pick. The only issue is coming up against my team, my north side, he's not going to have a left winger to try and, track down, beat, and, mark out of the game in a 1v1. So are you potentially losing his best qualities coming up against my side? Maybe.
He's got two players to face. He's got a left wing back and a left winger, and he'll be pocketing them both, I'm sure. He'll be slide tackling them both at the same time.
Well, he's definitely going to be needing it. So, okay, that's a pretty good start from Ramsdale and Wan-Bissaka. I'm just keeping a mental note of that as well. Okay, moving on to then my... which way around doing this? Let's do my central defender of my back three. I've gone for Nottingham Forest, Nikola Milenkovic. Probably a pretty obvious pick if you've been watching episodes of the podcast, because I've been raving about how much I love him. Someone who is a great box defender, someone who, if you're going to kick the ball long from Aaron Ramsdale, because our team's going to be pressing him so high up, that Milenkovic is going to win everything in the air. He's going to be super attacking, and not only that, he can go in with the full confidence that he's got a right centre-back and a left centre-back next to him with really good pace in Ezri Konsa and the player who I will mention in a bit. And so not only that, when you think about going forward in the attacking box as well, my team can also score from set pieces with our three centre-backs, with Milenkovic as well up there. And I think, in the feet, while he's decent, I think he is not the best, but that's no worries because he can just hang back a little bit and let Konsa and the left centre-back do their job in terms of taking the ball forward as well. So I've gone for balance in my back line, even though I've gone for a back three rather than a back four, and it's definitely not a back five, Toby. I don't want to hear any of that nonsense. So yeah, that's my second player in my defence. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, good pick. I think with Forest, it probably was going to be one of those two centre-backs, either Miro or Milenkovic, like you said. And yeah, strong pick, especially in that central centre-back role. I think having him in there is a good pick. 'Cause like you said, he's not bad on the ball. He's not bad on the ball, but certainly players like Konsa, and I'm sure your left centre-back are going to be more the players to distribute that ball and carry it forward a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the case. So who's your second defender? Any position you want, mate?
I was going to say I'll do my centre back pairing in here so that
Sure.
try and line up the teams a little bit more, given our different formations. So I have gone for a pairing of Arsenal's William Saliba and Crystal Palace's Mark Gahey. I think this is a really, really nice pairing. I think both very, very strong, both good in the air, and both comfortable on the ball, as well as carrying it forward. I think is two things that they really excel at. So yeah, I've for Palace again. There weren't a load of options. I think Daniel Munoz at right back was potentially one I was thinking about having. But I think maybe he would be someone who would maybe suit your team a little bit better, playing a wing back as opposed to a more conventional fullback. Because I think his strongest is definitely going forward. Whereas Mark Gahey, he is the leader of that Crystal Palace side, and well as Saliba, he really does lead that back line for Arsenal. So two players who I think are going to be organising in that defence really, really well, and also creating a few attacks themselves in it as well.
Yeah, I love that shout of Marque as well because I think, like you said, while he's been struggling at Crystal Palace and the whole team have, if you think about maybe Marque in a different team, in a better team, then you can got the perfect example with England. Him alongside John Stones for England was really, really good in the Euros. Started every game bar one, I think it was. I think that's the one Ezri Konsa did start against Switzerland in the quarterfinal. I know I have that stat. So yeah, Marque, I'm pretty sure started every other single one. So yeah, that's a really good pick. And I'm assuming you're going to go Sleep on the right, Gay on the left.
Yeah, that's gonna be the combo.
Yeah, I think I've definitely gone for a little bit more physicality because in terms of aerially, I think my backline dominates yours. Yes, I've probably got an extra man, but you know what? I think
Well,
we can
I don't
bully
know.
Marquez.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure about Saliba is very, very good in the air still, and very strong and quick as well, which I think is something that's important.
Yeah, but when you've
Saliba's
got
just got it all. He's just got it all.
yeah, but when you've got Konza, Milenkovic, and also Virgil van Dijk at left centre back, that is a pretty good, tasty three, isn't it?
Oh, left. Okay, I see.
Yeah, well, it had to be Virgil van Dijk because I'm thinking about who you're gonna have at right wing. Obviously, you're allowed two players, and I'm a little bit surprised you've gone for your Arsenal one this early, but you may have another Arsenal pick in your team. And I did think to myself that right wing position, if we're gonna lock horns against each other, is gonna be really, really difficult. So whoever my left wing back is, not only have to be good going forward, but also going back. And in case I get past the left wing back, because there's a few quality players from the southern teams that, you know what, my left centre back's gonna be really, really good. But not only that, because it's a backline that doesn't play often with each other, the likes of Milenkovic and Konza, they need a little bit of experience, they need that leadership, and who better than Virgil van Dijk, one of the best defenders in world football, and can also play in the back three. He's used to playing that with the Netherlands, his national side as well. Not only that, he's the captain of that as well. His long range passes as well to either of the number 10s who are going to be playing in this side, and his passing out from the back as well. I think he's got absolutely everything to his game, and in an all-star side, you probably do want the best, and I do think that Virgil van Dijk is just simply one of the best.
Yeah, I assumed you would be picking him as well, potentially doubling up with Liverpool. So, yeah, no surprises in there. Like you said, with Van Dijk, probably the best centre back in Europe. Interesting, he's going to be that left centre back though. I do think that I'm surprised he's not in the centre and maybe Milinkovic as a left centre back or a different option out there. Just because I think Van Dijk is that good. Should he be that main man in the centre and like leading that back line?
It's a good question. For me, I just went about in terms of the right centre back and left centre back and the back three are going to be defending the space a lot because my wing backs are going to be going forward and attacking. So I did think that I need Konza, who's used to playing right back and covering that space, and Liverpool with the way they play in their back four, but with Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold so high up, I think Van Dijk is more than comfortable in going out to that left-hand side with the pace of whoever your right wing is going to be. I think Milenkovic just lacks a little bit of pace, which is why he works so well at Nottingham Forest with someone like Murillo. So that's why I went for Van Dijk, because if I wanted to play Van Dijk centrally, I think I probably would have gone for Murillo at left centre back rather than Milinkovic, just because he has that little bit more pace. I think that's fair, but for me, I wanted to dominate this side physically as well, so that's why I went for Milinkovic.
Nice. Yeah, I mean that's a very, very strong back three, and like you said, I think that's a back three that can really defend, and you do need that when you're playing wing backs, especially like you say if you're playing attacking wing backs. So it's good picks there.
Yeah, thank you, mate. So to round off your back four then, who have you gone for at left back?
At left back, like I said with Ramsdale, I think this player actually was the first player on my team sheet when I was doing this, and that is Fulham's Anthony Robinson. I think he is probably one of the strongest left backs in the league, whether it's a North v South team or just a total Premier League team. I still think he would certainly be in and around that conversation. A few stronger picks compared to Southampton for Fulham. I think there could have been a couple of other players that certainly could have made this side, but Robinson is still that standout player. You look at the metrics compared to other fullbacks across Europe over the last year, and he dominates. You're looking at top 10, top 20% in a lot of the key metrics. And going forward as well, I think if you're Anthony Robinson, he loves to bomb forward, he loves to get forward, really good crosser, really good driver of the ball as well. And I think if he's going to be the one pushing forward, Wan-Bissaka potentially sort of the one sitting back a little bit, and at times you could maybe have more of a makeshift back three with Wan-Bissaka, Saliba and Guehi pushing out to that left-hand side, or even if Wan-Bissaka's going as well, Saliba and Guehi sitting as a two is more than enough cover, which gives Robinson a good bit of freedom, I think, to get forward and join the attack. So yeah, he was straight in my team.
Yeah, I think that was another one when I was looking at your side and what you could pick. Along with Ramsdale at Southampton, I thought Anthony Robinson at Fulham was an absolute shoo-in. You could have maybe gone for like an Emil Smith-Rowe, a Alex Iwobi. I'm trying to think of what other players. Maybe at centre-back you could have gone for, I can't remember his name, the one who just transferred from... Anderson, yeah, transferred from Crystal Palace to Fulham. But yeah, I think he was a standout pick. And I don't blame you for that as well. And to be fair, he would have done really, really well in my team as well at the left wing back. Because on my right wing back, I've gone for someone who isn't naturally a right wing back. And now looking at your left back and looking at who you might have at left wing, this player at right wing back might get a little bit overrun. But I just wanted to put him in the side as a right wing back, because if he's going to be super attacking, then you've got Ezri Konsa shuffling across from right centre back to right back, who's comfortable there. And this was a team I really, really struggled with, and that's Leicester City, because I could have gone for Jamie Vardy up top, but I just thought, with the way the teams are playing now in the modern day, Vardy has amazing pace, but he doesn't necessarily have the hold-up play to match it. Yes, he's good for his for his height and and the way he plays, but he doesn't quite have that physicality, and I wanted that physicality up front. So I've gone for Leicester City's Abdul Fatawu. Yes, I know he's injured, but this is a dream hypothetical scenario. I went for him just because of the fact that he hasn't quite got the goal output that you probably like from him, but in terms of counter-attack and in terms of carrying the ball into the final third, he's really, really good. And so I think that, playing on that right wing position in this side might actually suit him pretty well. I was thinking about maybe going for Facundo Buonanotte, but I just thought he's a little bit too much of a number 10 in the midfield. So that felt, while Fatawu feels like a bit of a stretch, Buonanotte felt just like outside of the realms of possibility. And I thought, let's not be absolutely crazy. So yeah, I went for Abdul Fatawu, who... Looking at who you got a left back and who you might have, I think might be in a little bit of trouble, I'll be honest.
Well, he's a good player. I really, really like him. He's going to have good recovery pace in that wing back position as well, which is important. And yeah, when, like you say, when you're trying to think of my team, when I was trying to think of yours, I was really struggling to think of any sort of Leicester player to go in, because like you said, I think their sort of best players, like I suppose recently in this season, is sort of Ndidi or Buonanotte or Vardy, and I feel like playing those players maybe in the 10 or the striker position takes away a position for somebody in a much stronger team. So I think you've done well to get your Leicester player in there and maybe in a position where it's not going to harm the overall quality of the team too much.
Yeah, and I think also if you tell him he's playing an all-star game, you tell him that, look at the players ahead of him that are likely to be playing, that, just do a job for a right wing back. I think he's just happy to be there, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's good motivation. Yeah, just you've made it in the team. Now work your hardest.
Yeah, just do a job for us, lad. I'm sure he's a very hard-working lad, and I'm sure he will absolutely do a job for me. I don't know what position you want to go for here, mate, because obviously I've messed it up with my back three. So just who you fancy, really?
Okay, I have gone for a 4-2-3-1. So let's go for my double pivot together. I feel like I like doing them as a partnership, these little teams. So I have gone from Brighton, I have gone for Baleba, who I've spoken about before. I spoke about in our Team of the Season so far video. I think he is so good, so well-rounded. can almost do everything on the pitch. He's so strong, he's quick, he's defensively really good, reads the game fantastically well. And once he's read the game and got that ball, him carrying it forward is so good. He is going to be an exceptional talent in a few years' time, and how good he is now, I think, is just testament to his strengths. And alongside him, I've gone for another left footer in Janelt from Brentford. A bit of an underrated player, I think, over the last few seasons with how Brentford have been doing in the Prem. Obviously, we hear about Mbuemo, we heard about Tony. I think we hear a little bit more even about Jensen, given he has a bit of a stronger output in terms of goals and assists. But I think Janelt is really one of the hardest workers in that Brentford team, and is always someone like Baleba really, really bringing it forward, really carrying it forward. And I think as well is decent enough defensively to sort of cover each other when needed. But I think out of that partnership, Baleba will probably be the one to sit back a little bit more and dictate that tempo. And then at times, if Janelt needs to sit back, if Baleba's going on a crazy run, he can do a job there as well.
Mate, I really like that as a midfield too. I think it's one where on paper it doesn't, they're not the biggest names. They're probably not everyone going, yeah, they're all right, but are they like world class? But I think as a two, they could work really, really well. And they could actually be very underrated. I think they could be, I don't mean this in disrespectful, I mean this as actually as a compliment. They could be quite functional. They could do the job and do the job so well that it really allows everyone else to do the jobs in terms of going forward and in the defensive to like really, really well. So yeah, I really like that too.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a balance, I think, of strengths there. The only issue I was thinking maybe is two left footers in there, but I think in the midfield it doesn't matter too much. I feel like that's certainly more of maybe a thing in terms of centre backs where you want a left foot centre back or whatever. But yeah, I think they're both quality enough that it shouldn't make too much of a difference. Who's up next in your team? Are you thinking left wing back? Are you thinking midfield? I'm interested to see.
I tell you what, I should just go for my left wing back just to round off the team to make it a little bit more symmetrical. And I will go for my Wolverhampton Wanderers player, which is Ryan Aït-Nouri, someone who we did talk about in our team of the season so far. But for me, someone at left wing back, it is the perfect position for him. He's solid going forward and he's great at defending as well. I was thinking about the left backs in the Premier League as a whole, and obviously, I mean, in the other teams in the north, you got Robertson, Gavardio, Shaw. But really, no one really stood out to me as like an outstanding candidate. And I think maybe the Premier League is missing like an outstanding left back at the moment, because I think everyone's either good but on the way down or good but on the way up. No one's in their prime years of their career at the moment. So yeah, I went for Ryan Aït-Nouri because he's going to be bombing up and down the left hand side, making sure that he gets the better of your right winger, whether that's Bukayo Saka, Noni Madueke, Brian Mbeumo, clearly not maybe Brian Mbeumo, Cole Palmer, whoever you have on the right hand side. I think that's going to be like one of the South side strengths. And so I really wanted to nullify that with Ryan Aït-Nouri and Virgil van Dijk. That's the reason kind of why I didn't go for Ipswich Town's Leif Davies, just because going forward, I think it'd be great in the back five. I think he'd be not back five, back three. Definitely not a back five, back three. He'd be great going forward, putting balls into the box to the strikers and the more attacking midfielders. But I think defensively, he would probably get a little bit exploited. I've seen him do okay, but not amazingly well against some right wingers in the Premier League so far. And so that's why I just wanted a little bit more solidarity down the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I think similar to left back, I think left wingers, we're really missing some world-class left wingers in the Premier League as well, which is why I went for defensive solidarity on the left-hand side and more attacking going forward on the right-hand side. So yeah, I think that now my back three and the two wing backs are really, really well balanced so far, and I think that the rock that I build my attack from.
Yeah, it's a good pick in Aït-Nouri. I think when I was thinking about Wolves, it was between him and Mateus Cunha, I think, as the standout picks over the last few seasons. But I am surprised you haven't gone for Leif Davies, because I thought he would have suited that wing-back position superbly. Like you said, he's not the strongest defensively. Not that I think Aït-Nouri is an exceptional defender. He is a little bit more solid. But yeah, I think Davies could have been pretty tasty in there, running down the line, whipping balls in. And I think that's where he really excels, is creating. So I'm intrigued. Well, I've got an idea of who your Ipswich player is going to be now, given the positions left. But yeah, that, like you said, I think that's a close call between Davies and Aït-Nouri. Both very nice options for wing back.
Yeah, but the thing is about if I had to go for Leif Davies for Ipswich at left wing back, that means that I'll probably have to go for Mateus Cunha, because there wasn't really too many other options for Wolves. But like I said, in those two number 10 positions behind the striker, you've got some great players in those positions, which I will touch on in a moment. But yeah, I was like, Cunha's amazing, but these players are potentially world class, and on their day you can't
Yeah.
leave them out. So I just thought, I think it's unfortunate because if this was to be like a real thing in real world, and this was to happen in the Premier League, I think a lot of really talented players in the attacking third would get left out, and the teams would be, and I think from teams in the lower down table, it would just be the defender just to try and make up the numbers. So because you couldn't have one like,
Yeah.
without the world class players, I can't mention them, I can't talk about them because I haven't given you my names yet. But yeah, you know what I mean?
No, I completely get what you mean, and that's a really good point, and I think that's probably made that decision easier to go for Aït-Nouri. I had the same with Wan-Bissaka. Like, there was a player I could have had in my number 10 who, well, I guess I can say I don't know, is Lucas Paqueta, which feels like quite harsh him missing out because I think he's exceptional. But I think to try and, get players from teams where obviously they have less world-class players, a lower amount, and squeezing some of the league's best players, it's about getting that compromise, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But not just Paqueta. You also have like Jared Bowen, Mohamed Kudus. West Ham have
Yeah.
so many talented players. I think it is one where you've got to go for the superstar names in these kind of things, and that's what I've tried to do a little bit further forward. So I'll give you my double pivot. But before that, do you want to give me your last midfielder? I'm assuming Baleba. Did you say Baleba and Janelt are playing in the double pivot, or is it one behind the other?
Yeah, no, got those two in a double pivot in a 4-2-3-1, so I can give you my number 10.
Yeah, go on.
And that is Cole Palmer. Got him in the 10 from Chelsea. Again, I think he had to be in this team. I think he certainly suits the number 10 position and has really made it his own this season, especially. Really liked him out on the right last season, but he just naturally drifted in anyway. And the way that he dictates Chelsea's play gets him a little bit closer to goal on that edge of the box where he can pick out passes, where he can take shots. And that's exactly what I want him to be in this team, is just to be that sort of more old school number 10 that we don't really see as much anymore. Normally they're either pushed out to the wing or they're like a Martin Odegaard and dropping and sitting back a little bit deeper and playing more like an 8. Whereas Palmer, proper, not even old school, like 10 years ago, number 10, the old De Bruyne role. So yeah, he had to be, and it was a bit of a no-brainer for him to get in, really.
Yeah, I think that was a very obvious shout. I mean, maybe honourable mentions. I don't know who else. Maybe Noni Madueke, Moises Caicedo. Did you have any others?
Caicedo was one that I was considering having in there, but I think the jump from Janelt and Baleba to Caicedo wasn't particularly as much as maybe his other number 10s up to Cole Palmer, because he has been the best sort of attacking midfielder over the last season and a half quite easily.
Yeah, and I think with his intelligence as well, whoever you play alongside him, I think they can link up play really, really well. So yeah, that's a really good pick in terms of Cole Palmer. Then that means that I have to give you my midfielders, and obviously I've gone for the two midfielders in the 3-4-2-1, and my two deepest I've gone for current Ballon d'Or holder Rodri. I think it was pretty obvious when you think to yourself that in terms of defensive midfielders, he is the best in the world, and there is no one else, really close to him. I think he is the definition of world class, where he's world class and everyone else isn't. And you got maybe some who are close, maybe who are on the verge, but he is in a league of his own, and that is in terms of defensive midfielder. He is world class. Like I said, current Ballon d'Or holder. He can, great defensively, but not only that, he can pick up a goal or two as well. And with the knowledge that he's got a back three behind him, he could actually get forward and make a couple of late runs if he does decide to do so. But not only that, starting off the attacks, I think we'll probably end up in possession with starting off with a 3 and a 2 in build-up. And that means that, him at the heart of that, dictating all of that, I think your team's got no chance in midfield. But you know what, in case he does need a little bit of help, then he's also got Newcastle's Bruno Guimaraes alongside him as well. Someone who can probably play in, defensive midfield, centre midfield and attacking midfield if he were to do so. But I think him alongside Rodri is an outstanding combination when you think about his progressive passes, but not only that, him having the knowledge he's got Rodri next to him, his progressive take-ons as well is actually really, really good as well. And it's one where in terms of defensively and also attackingly, I think my two are arguably better than your three together. I don't know if that's too bold to say.
I think as a double pivot, Rodri and Bruno Guimaraes, I think they would complement each other fantastically well. I think it would give either of them licensed to step forward and play more as that sort of like high eight. Like we see that from Bruno a lot of the time. He really dictates the play. And we even see it from Rodri popping up at the edge of the box, taking a shot, picking out a final pass. So, yeah, that is probably not only the best midfield combo you could get in the North, but maybe in the whole Premier League as well.
Ooh, you've thrown that on me.
I honestly think it really could be. But I think Bruno Guimaraes could play for any side in the Prem and be one of their best midfielders.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if Man City were looking for someone in January, they could sign Bruno Guimaraes to replace Rodri in the number 6. But then when Rodri comes back next season, you could just move him forward and it'd still be excellent. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, in terms of like defensive solidarity, maybe you can go for Rodri and Rice, who Pep Guardiola did try to sign, Declan Rice for Man City. But yeah, from the top of my head, I can't probably think of anyone better, so I think I'm just going to leave it at that and take the win, I'll be honest.
That's a very nice combo. And like you said, Rodri, he's got to be in there, isn't he? He's got to be.
Yeah, obviously in the hypothetical world, he is fit as well, and I'm sure he'll be back sooner rather than later. So, which leaves us our front threes. Me with 2 10s and a striker, you with 2 wingers and a striker. Do you want to give me... Let's go for left winger, because I think I've got a good idea, but you could also go left field here. Who's your left winger?
My left wing is Heung-min Son of Tottenham. I think you're probably thinking that's the obvious one, and I think it's got to be really. A little bit underrated, I think, for Spurs this season, especially. I think a few other players have maybe stepped up with goals and assists. Looking at Brennan Johnson, obviously the big high-profile signing of Solanke, a few more eyes on other players in that Spurs attack. But Heung-min Son's still doing it. He's done it for a number of years now. Over 120 Premier League goals now, loads of assists, and he does everything really well, which I like. He's a good dribbler, he's a great shooter, he's a good finisher, good crosser, good final passer as well. I just think having a number of options in a winger, he's not one-dimensional at all. You don't know which way he's going to go, as he's both-footed as well. And I think that's quite important with Anthony Robertson as obviously being someone who could overlap. Gives Son that option to cut inside as well. So, yeah, a pretty obvious pick for a Spurs player in there.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe you could have potentially gone for Mickey van der Ven, and then you could have gone for, Eberechi Eze going forward as well. I think that could have worked all right.
Yeah, that's a good combo, yeah.
Yeah, I think that could have worked, because I was thinking about it, I was like, it's probably just Van der Ven, actually one of the fullbacks, but then you could probably, you got Heung-min Son. I mean, who am I to argue with that? I think that's a really good pick, especially considering you got Abdul Fattah to mark you at right wing back. That's
it might have been one toast there, I think.
Yeah, but that's why I've got Ezri Konda just tucking in, to help him out. Yeah. And he's going to need it if he's coming up against Heung-min Son. So you can tell the sadness in my voice. That's a really good pick. I went for, in terms of my left attacking midfield, which is the closest to your left wing, I've gone for Man United's Bruno Fernandes. This is one where I was trying to think, if this was a hypothetical world and every player was playing at their absolute best, I wanted to go for one player who's a little bit more creative and another player who had a little bit more pace, a bit more directness to the game. And so for the creativity, I've gone for Bruno Fernandes, someone who, if we're being honest, if he was playing for Manchester City, would be considered one of the best players in the league and the world. But despite the fact that he hasn't been amazing for Man United in the last couple of seasons, he's still got the most goals and assists, the most attacking returns of any player in the Premier League since his introduction, bar Mo Salah. And when you consider the fact that everyone's talking about Mo Salah being a world-class player, the best in his position, you have to give Bruno Fernandes his flowers, because he has been absolutely terrific. And it's one where, despite his low runs of form, he's still producing really good numbers. And I think, an aside, if coached well, maybe by a better manager, you've seen the uncertainty with Man United, some better players around him as well, I think you'd really see the best of Bruno Fernandes and see him flourish. I do have to say, though, it was very close, because in this hypothetical world, if everyone's playing at the best, you've got to consider Marcus Rashford and what his best could be, but I just thought that his best is so inconsistent season to season. At least Bruno Fernandes at least produces some really good numbers, and the performances are really good as well, that I just went for Bruno Fernandes ahead of Marcus Rashford. I could have also gone for Mazraoui at right centre-back. I thought that was a really great option, But just the way my team played, I thought, you know what, I couldn't move Ollie Watkins out to left wing if I didn't have Konza. And I still wanted that physicality at centre back, so I decided to go for Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, I think for me, Bruno over Rashford is a no-brainer, really. I think Rashford would be such a risky pick if this was like an actual game, an actual team. You don't know what Marcus Rashford you're going to get. Whereas, like you said with Bruno, I think he is really, really reliable, very consistent over the years when you look over a long period of time. And I've got an idea of maybe who your other two players are going to be, and I think Bruno could be someone who sort of drifts sort of centrally into a more sort of central number 10, and then you've got the two other players in your team who you haven't said playing ahead of him would be a really, really nice combo. And yeah, I think that's a really strong pick, and I think it's going to be good to see him play in that position under Amorim as well. I think that's going to be really interesting, and maybe a little bit more of how he was playing when he was at Sporting, where he seemed to be a lot further forward, playing off that left a little bit more, and I think it could be a bit of a match made in heaven, that system and Bruno playing in that role, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think it'd be really, really good. But not only that, like you said, I mean, him dropping in deep to help out the midfield if needed. I think the thing is with Bruno Fernandes, he likes to play absolutely everywhere. That's what he likes to do. And I don't necessarily think that's what's best for him or the team. But I think because he's got that ability to drop deep, go forward, he could be, you know, a player that you can use for a little bit of versatility and, you know, in depending on the game state, and, you know, he could do whatever you need him to do. And with the manager that I've got to pick as well, that I think that, you know, they could really get the best out of him. So those are our left-sided attacking options. Who have you gone for on the right? Because I've got a sneaking suspicion about who it could be.
Yeah, as an Arsenal fan, I have doubled up on Arsenal and gone for Bukayo Saka at right wing. I think he had to be in this team, really, for me. Best right winger in the south, for sure, for me. I think he's probably only behind Mo Salah in the entire league in terms of the last couple seasons. But again, just another player who I think is really well rounded and does a lot of different things very well. He's not just he's not like a raw goal scorer. He's not a pure creative player either. I think he excels in both, and I think with Palmer sort of playing as a 10 essentially, and you could have Saka really, really out wide, and that still gives Palmer space to sort of drift over like Odegaard does and have some nice combinations in there. Have Saka being sort of the assist maker to Palmer and my strikers' goals, I think is going to be a really good combination. And yeah, I mean, I love Saka. He had to go in.
Ah, very short and sweet. Yeah, I like that. Can I ask you though, because with the way Arsenal have been playing in recent weeks and the absence of Martin Odegaard, once you've seen Arsenal with and without Martin Odegaard, was there any debate at all that, you know, I don't know, maybe you could put Noni Madueke on the right and maybe Odegaard in the middle? Did you have that debate at all?
Not really. No, I
Okay.
really, really like Odegaard, and I think he is. I think him and Saka are literally level in terms of Arsenal's best player for me. I think with the system that I have as well, I certainly think Odegaard suits more of an 8 these days than a pure 10. I think he would be dropping back a little bit too much, playing as a 10, trying to pick up the ball and then bringing it forward. Whereas, yeah, I wanted somebody who was going to be a bit more of a goal threat, especially given the striker that I've got is someone who's going to bring other players a lot more into the game. And I think Cole Palmer suits that a little bit more.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. Well, like you said, he is the best winger in the South, but the best winger in the world is Mohamed Salah, who is on my team and my second Liverpool pick. So that's my second same player from the same team slot done. And to be honest, it was obvious, wasn't it? Eighth all-time Premier League top goal scorer with 168 goals. He's behind Thierry Henry on 175 and Frank Lampard with 177. If you put up a money, you'd probably bet that he would overtake both of them and become the sixth highest goal scorer in Premier League history. But not only that, he's also got 76 Premier League assists, which is 4 behind David Beckham. And I just thought, you know what, it's boring probably in terms of when you're making a side, when you're making a team. But the reason why, you know, Mo Salah is in the side because he is one of the best of all time. And no matter who it is at left back, whether it is Anthony Robinson or on the left side, whether it's Marquez, I think Mo Salah on this day probably has the better of both of them, as he probably does most defenders in world football, if we're being honest.
I was going to say, I don't think it really matters who I had in my defence. Mo Salah is probably gonna get a goal or an assist in any game. He is, yeah, ridiculously good. And it's funny, isn't it, how it's this season it's sort of picked up that people saying, oh, he would be in the all-time Prem 11, oh, he's so underrated for his whole time, and it's only been 13 games this season for him to do that, and you look at what he's done already before that, and maybe with an extra Prem title or two under his name, that debate would have been had a few years ago as opposed to now, but at least he is finally getting those shouts of how exceptional he is and how exceptional he has been.
Yeah, well, you just can't deny the relentless consistency. It's 8 consecutive Premier League seasons in a row, and yeah, he is definitely one of the best of all time. Which means then we only have our centre forwards to do. And if you're listening at home, you probably already have a good idea what we've gone for based on what players are left. But Toby, go on, tell us anyway. Who is your central striker?
I want to test you how well you've been keeping track, Mev. What team have I got left?
You've got Bournemouth left.
There we go. Okay, nice. Yes, so I've obviously gone for Evan Nilsson. I really like him as a player. I really liked him when he was at Porto, and when Bournemouth picked him up, it was really surprising. I think that he took that move and that Bournemouth made that move as a big money signing. A lot of sort of big clubs in Europe are really sniffing around at him because of what he does. He's not a very, very high tally goal scorer where it's going to be like an immediate impact and that's all he's going to do. His best part is his hold-up play, the way that he brings in other players, and he's really, really technically good, especially for somebody of his size. And yeah, just in the last game alone, winning 3 penalties, I think for, again, a striker of what he does to do that, I think just shows how much he has in his game. And especially in the way that my midfield 3 sort of behind him play, I think he being able to bring in Saka, bring in Palmer, bring in Son, and be that player who maybe drops a little bit deeper, picks up that ball, and then drops it in behind for those players to really do the damage. I think he's going to be the right sort of player that I need in that team.
Yeah, but mate, don't underplay his goal scoring ability as well, though, because he's still really, really good in front of goal. And the fact that I think he's on 4 Premier League goals at the time of recording. This is just before the Tuesday midweek fixtures, I have to say that. But yeah, I think he could potentially get upwards of 15, maybe even 20 goals this Premier League season. I think he's a fantastic forward as well.
Yeah, and especially for Bournemouth, it was sort of between him and Semenyo, I would probably say. And Semenyo just unlucky, I think, to have to come up against that midfield 3. So yeah, Evan Nilsson straight up top.
Yeah, and how well you've been paying attention to my teammate. Who have I got up front? You can probably tell the name if you remember the team.
It took me a while. That's why I asked you, maybe just because I wasn't paying attention that much. But I'm guessing it's Ipswich, given there's no Leif Davies yet.
Yes, it is Ipswich Town, and of course it is Liam Delap. A little bit unexperienced when it comes to top-flight English football, but I think what we have seen so far, he's done really, really well. 6 league goals at the time of recording, and I think it's one where I wanted someone who, if this side were to, be under a little bit of pressure, we'd obviously try and pass the ball at the back, but we need that option in terms of that outlet up front, in terms of that physicality, that hold-up play, and I don't think that someone like Jimmy Vardy had it for Leicester City. I think Matthias Cunha could do it, but not really, it's not a strong suit, so that's why I didn't go for him. I was thinking maybe double up on Nottingham Forest, go for Chris Wood, but then I thought technically his ability with the ball, while I think it's quite underrated, isn't quite at the elite level as well. And I did have some good options here. I had Alexander Isak at Newcastle. I had Erling Haaland at Manchester City, and I went, no, give me good old-fashioned Liam Delap. Maybe I'm just a fan of his dad, who knows, but I think that's a pretty well-rounded team, and maybe not the best in terms of all-time on paper, but I think one that in terms of their chemistry and how well they're going to work together, I think I've got a really balanced side.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I think he is a really good goal scorer, a really good finisher. He's taken his chances fantastically well, which haven't come in abundance this season, and yeah, definitely one of Ipswich's best players. So a good position, I think, to get him in on. In terms of you saying how you wanted your team to play, who is going to be in that dugout for you? Who's going to be dishing out those tactics?
Well, of course. I mean, despite the fact that he's on a terrible run at the moment, it has to be Pep Guardiola. I mean, the man has literally revolutionized football since basically I've been watching. I mean, him at Barcelona, him at Bayern Munich, and now him at Manchester City. Yes, it's a little bit ugly at the moment. I saw him. I don't know if you saw him putting up the six fingers to the Liverpool fans when they were saying he's getting sacked in the morning. But yeah, he's maybe a little bit aggy at the moment, scratching his face, doing all sorts. But undoubtedly one of the best managers of history, and I don't think you can say that for any of the other managers. Maybe I missed one, but yeah, had to be Pep Guardiola. What about you?
Yeah, it's a much easier pick for you, I think, than it has been for me. It's not many standout options, really. I had a few that I was umming and ahhing over, but I've actually gone for Thomas Frank from Brentford, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm thinking if this is a one-off game, I think Frank is an exceptional tactician. I don't think he particularly has a really strong style of play that needs to be implemented over a season, over a number of years. I think he's someone who could come in and do a one game and really match up well against an opponent's team. And also thinking with Brentford's home form this season, they're top of the home form chart. They have been so good at home. And I'm thinking if this was a real North versus South game, it's probably going to be played in London, isn't it? Given how everything in the UK is normally in London, so
Come on.
that little boost as well may just give him the advantage. So yeah, gone for Thomas Frank.
Well, hearing that, Brentford fans will be super, really, really desperately hoping that they get to a cup final this season, because that means, according to you, that they're guaranteed to win.
Yeah, well, as long as you're within a 50-meter radius of the G-Tech, and Buemo is going to be firing them in, and maybe Thomas Frank will sneak him in onto my bench.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, well, he's unfortunate not to make a team whatsoever, and neither is Wisa as well. So, but that's why he got Jan out. Him and the connection with Thomas Frank just to sort out the midfield, dominate my Rodri and Bruno Guimaraes.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, there we have it. Those are our North versus South teams. Let us know in the comments below who you think has the better one. Toby, just one more time, run through it from the top to bottom.
Yeah, so in goal, I've got Aaron Ramsdale. Right back, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, with a centre-back pairing of Saliba and Mark Guéhi. Left back is Robinson. I've got a double pivot of Janelt and Baleba. A midfield three of Saka, Palmer and Heung-min Son. And up top, leading the line, is Evan Nilsson.
Very nice. And for me, I've gone for Pickford of Everton in goal, a back three of Ezri Konsa, Nikola Milenkovic and Virgil van Dijk, right wing back of Abdul Fatawawu, two midfielders of Rodri and Bruno Guimaraes, left wing back I've got Rain Ed-Nouri, the two number 10s I've got Mohamed Salah and I've got Bruno Fernandes, and leading the line I've got Ipswich Town's Liam Delap. Well, there we go. Like I said, let us know in the comments below who would win. Would it be the North or would it be the South? And that brings us nicely on to the end of the podcast and the quiz.
Yes, the all-important Guess the Club quiz. 12 rounds done so far. A lot of scores on the board. And at the moment, it is Mev on 26 points and myself on 30 after getting a very jammy 5-pointer on the first player last week. So I'm sure I'm not going to have so much luck this week.
No, you're absolutely not. And because you went first last time and ended the podcast, does that mean that you go first this time?
Yeah, I went second and finished. Yeah, so I'll be the guesser first.
Yes.
Yeah, you give me those players.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah, backward way of saying it. But okay, are you ready?
I am. Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, so your first player for 5 points is Nordin Amrabat.
Amrabat, wow. Okay. Oh, God. I only know two teams he's played for, and I don't think it's going to be either of them. And that is Fiorentina and Man United. So...
No.
What?
Wrong player. I've gone for his brother.
Oh, is this the winger?
Yes, this is his brother.
Okay. Oh, what's the ex-Man United Amrabat's first name? Is that Jordi Amrabat? No.
Sofian,
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone for Nordin.
My Amrabat knowledge is not good. Okay, I think I know one team this guy played for. And again, it's probably not going to be them. I think maybe he played for Watford. So let's go for that.
That is not the right answer, but he did play for Watford between 2016 and 2018. I have that. So yeah, okay. That is not correct. But your second player for 4 points is Carlos Vinicius.
Again, I don't really know who he's played for. Obviously Fulham. Why do I have in my head that he was at Olympiacos at some point? I don't know why. I can't think of anything else. So I'm going to go for Olympiacos.
It is not Olympiacos, unfortunately. So your third player for 3 points is Thorgan Hazard.
Okay, right. Thorgan Hazard. Borussia Dortmund. It's not going to be either of those two. Chelsea. Probably not going to be either of those two, but that would be pretty sneaky. That would be sneaky. He's been done Gladbach as well. Where else has Thorgan Hazard maybe been? Where was he after Dortmund? Don't think I'm going to know it. Oh, I'm torn between Chelsea and Gladbach. Carlos Vinicius at Chelsea, Amrabat at Chelsea. Oh, let's go for Chelsea.
It is not Chelsea, unfortunately. You fall into the trap I hope you would. So your fourth player for 2 points is Mario Götze.
Right, okay. I should be getting this on here. So we've got Dortmund, Bayern, PSV, and Frankfurt. I'm pretty sure he's at Frankfurt or did Frankfurt. It's not going to be Dortmund or Bayern. There's no way. Well, it can't be Bayern because Thorgan hasn't played for Bayern. It could be Dortmund, but that seems a bit too obvious. It's PSV or Frankfurt. It's one of those two. Maybe it's Frankfurt, and that's why I thought of Olympiacos when I was picturing the badge. So let's go for Frankfurt.
It is not Frankfurt, unfortunately, mate. That is his current club, though. That's why you're thinking of Frankfurt. And your last team, for 1 point, is Cody Gakpo.
Oh, it is PSV.
It is PSV. Well done, mate. 1 point.
Oh, that's annoying. I should have got 2 on that. Because, Thorgan Hazard, I can imagine, I don't know if it's a FIFA card with a PSV badge or him in a PSV kit, but that does seem to go well together.
Yeah, well, very recently, he was on loan for half a season from Dortmund to PSV in the back end of 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you got the last one. And then Carlos Vinicius was there when he was on loan from Spurs in the 21-22 season. Norden Amrabat was there between 08 and 11. And yeah, Mario Götze was from Dortmund to PSV, and now he's at Frankfurt. So yeah. Well done. Damn. Obviously, I was going to make it harder after you got 5 points last week. So well played.
Still should have got 2 on that. I'm disappointed.
The high standards, okay. I love it. Now,
are you ready for your list?
Yeah, not so high standards. I'm ready.
Okay, your first player for 5 points is Patrick van Aanholt.
A Dutchman who has played for Chelsea. I think he might have played for Wigan as well, what's Chelsea's feeder side? That Dutch side, literally writing that Dutch side. He's also been in Europe. He's been to Germany. Okay. To start off with, if he was at Chelsea, I would know. I'm going to say Wigan Athletic.
It is not Wigan, unfortunately.
Okay.
Not sure if he was there. I think that could be right. Michael Keane is your second player for 4 points.
Oh, he's been absolutely everywhere. Right. Okay. He's been on loan everywhere. He was at Man United. He was at Burnley. And he is now at Everton. He has been on loan loads. Oh, I think I was looking at his career path recently as well. Oh, right. Come on, Memphis. So it's not Man United. It's not Everton, and so it's not Burnley either. Where was Patrick van Aanholt at? Did Michael Keane go abroad? No, don't think so. Did he go Scotland, Wales? Don't think so. Okay, it's definitely somewhere in England. Where was Patrick van Aanholt? I'm missing so many clubs in England that he's on loan to. Can't be Chelsea. I've said Wigan. I need a team. Premier League teams: Liverpool, Everton. It can't be a current Premier League side. West Ham, no. I need someone in the Championship.
You got a punt, a random Prem or Championship or League One club?
Yeah, Championship or lower. I'm just trying to think. There's no one coming to mind. I will say... Can I say Aston Villa?
You can, but you'd be wrong, unfortunately.
Okay.
It's not the club I'm looking for. Your third player for 3 points is Emil Heskey.
Heskey, right. I'm glad I said Villa now, I'll be honest. He was at Liverpool, can be Liverpool. I cannot remember Heskey's career that well. He obviously was number 8 for Liverpool when we won the UEFA Cup back in 2001. Great memories. Not a clue. Not a clue.
Another punt, perhaps?
Yeah, can I say Blackburn Rovers?
It is not Blackburn Rovers, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Fourth player for 2 points is Anthony Nokia.
God damn it, it's Leicester City.
It is Leicester for 2 points. Well done, mate. Yeah, I thought you would either... No, I thought maybe with Heskey you would either get it or you would guess Aston Villa. So when you said Aston Villa for Michael Keane, I was thinking, oh god, he's going to get it now, definitely. But yeah, knockout for 2 points, very nice. Van Aanholt and Michael Keane had loans there. Heskey was there for a number of years before Liverpool. Knockout there again for a number of years. Obviously the famous penalty save that he obviously missed. And then last player would have been Gary Lineker.
Yeah, I should have got on 3. I should have known Emil Heskey way better than that. I'm a little bit annoyed, but
2 points.
It does mean I catch up. Which means, what are the scores now?
28-31. So close down to a gap of 3.
Okay, another difficult one in the coming weeks, and the comeback is on. Yeah, stitch you right up. Well, there we have it. That is it for this week's episode of the podcast. If you enjoyed it, give us a like, subscribe to the channel as well, and we will see you in the next one.